Today my special guest on Hello Darling is Stevie Belowsky, described as a force of nature. After dazzling audiences and raising the roof at the Sydney Opera House, this two-time Australian Poetry Slam finalist became Virgin Australia's in-flight entertainment pop poet. From his infamous Stardust Hotel, Sunset Boulevard lobby shows to Foxtel TV, numerous radio and live performances, Stevie brushed shoulders with international celebrities, rock stars and pop stars. Belowsky is now a published author of his recently released book called Stay Greasy Baby. Hello, darling. Welcome to the show.
Hello, darling. Back. Am I allowed to say that?
You absolutely conditioned
I've been waiting to say that. I can say it one more time. Hello, darling.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you for being on the show.
And thanks for wearing red. You know, it's my favourite colour, Manchester United.
Of course.
You know,
that's the main reason.
A lot of people think Liverpool, but no, Manchester United,
and
red.
That's where you were born.
I was born in Manchester, yeah.
Beautiful. Stevie, from dyslected childhood to the pop in-flight virgin poet.
Yeah.
It's quite a long flight.
Massive journey.
Massive journey.
Not just a plane flight, right?
Yes. Tell me about your childhood and growing up. Tell us.
Yeah, I grew up in Manchester and North Manchester, and I had a real struggle at school. I mean, I was quite dyslexic, couldn't read or write till I was 13. Eventually my family emigrated to Australia and I stayed in England, and I grew up with my grandparents more. And it was my grandmother that taught me to read because I was so into soccer and football that she realized that. So at school they couldn't teach me anything, but at home at night we'd read the football, we'd read the papers. We'd be looking on the back page and reading all about Manchester United and Georgie Best and the soccer players, and I'd start to, you know, really kind of find myself through the soccer, you know, through her teaching me how to read through the newspapers. Which really shows up the school system, how bad the school system was for people that were dyslexic, because they didn't know how to handle someone like me. Yes. So, you know what? That's what they did. They would leave you, and you just deteriorate at school. So, I think with dyslexia, what they really need to do with all kids that are dyslexic is find out what they're interested in. With me, it was soccer. With someone else, it could be music, and just focus on that. And if you just focus on that one thing, then you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, then you've got an opportunity, a chance.
So God bless your granny.
Yeah, wherever she is.
When did you realize that you were a creative writer?
I guess about, you know, I never really, it's something that happened to me one day in America. I just sat down with a napkin and a pen in a cafe and started writing a poem. And at the time I had a roommate in Los Angeles, and he goes, you know, this poetry thing's becoming really big. You know, you could actually go on stage and perform it. And I'm like, and I'm writing, I've got like 2 or 3 poems, and it says all that in the book, really. And I just started writing. So I said, well, if I go on stage, I'm not going to, you know, read these poems. You know, I'm going to recite these poems. I'm going to perform them. And I started becoming a performance poet, which led to later script writing and writing books and everything else. But at the end of the day, I'm a stand-up pop poet. And yeah, so, you know, I broke new ground, really. It's taken me a long way from writing that first poem on a napkin to the opera house, or, you know, performing on stage at UCLA in front of 2,000 students. But that was a body of work that, you know, I built up over like 20 odd years.
Amazing. We can't cover this all, but I try as much as you can.
Yeah.
I'm reading your book, your wonderful book. Why Stay Greasy Baby? How did you come up with the title?
I've got a poem called Stay Greasy Baby.
Yes.
Right? It goes, stay greasy, baby. It's a long slide down. Yo, don't mean slicking it back with L'Oreal because I'm worth it. Or slicking it back like Steven Seagal. Just stay greasy, baby, on that long slide down. Yo, yo. So you're slipping and you're sliding down at aisle 9. You got your hands are deep. They're in the dippity-doo. You got oil and gel all over you. You're ultimate, you're mega, you're extreme, you're stiff stuff with total hold. You know what you are? You're a slimy, greasy bastard. And it's Saturday night and you're stuck to your date. You're stuck to your date. She can't break away. She can't break away. She can't twist and shake. She can't twist and shake. You're a slimy mess and it's dripping out of your hair, down your face, across your pimples, on the ends of your chin. It's sticky, sticky, sticky. You're a gooey blob on the disco floor. You're a metaphor. You're like old Pauly Shore. So stay greasy, baby. Stay greasy because it's a long slide down and you're ultimate. You're mega and you're extreme. And see, that poem I'd written a long time before, and I was writing this memoir, and when I was writing the memoir, I didn't know what to call the book, but everyone comes up to me and says, stay greasy, baby, it's a long slide down after the poem. So when it came to naming the book, it was just simple. It was like, there it was, you know, the title was there for me, and it made a lot of sense, really.
Now, Belowsky, that's how I'm supposed to address
It's a horrible
you.
poem, by the way.
It is, I agree.
It's kind of like one of those horrible throwaway poems, but I couldn't shake it off.
That's right.
You can't shake
because it's greasy.
Because
it
it's greasy.
Sticks to you.
But it stuck to me like grease.
And to many, many hundreds, thousands of people that heard it, yeah?
Yeah.
Belowsky, how many poems did you write? Have you written?
Oh, hundreds.
Hundreds.
How many do I perform? Maybe 30, maybe 28 poems. There's a difference between a written poem, a performance poem, a performance poem, and then a slam poem.
Yes.
When I became the WA State Poetry Slam champion, these were poems that I designed especially as slam poems.
Yes.
And any slam poet will tell you that you may write 5 or 6 slam poems in your life. You know, most poems, yeah, you can have a performance poem, but a performance poem ain't going to win you a slam title. It's a different game. So, but performance-wise, I know I could go on for an hour and a half on stage if need be.
And may I ask you, how many of them do you know by heart? Do you remember by heart?
You know, like most of them.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. I practice them in the shower.
Well,
like everybody is doing
you
a
must
speech.
have long showers, huh? Because the poems are relatively long, and so many of them. You're very clean
I have
man.
a lot of long showers because I'm so dirty.
Because you're such a clean man. You see, 2 point of views. Belowsky, please tell me your favorite poem you ever wrote.
Favorite poem I ever wrote? God, jeez, really? I mean, there's, oh my God. I mean, so much. Do you want to hear it?
I want to hear first of all of it. Yes.
You know, I have a poem. It's not kind of like, I like it because I wrote it early in my poetry career.
Yes.
And I used to have a roommate that ate Frosty Flakes every day in America, right?
Yeah, I read it, yeah.
And I was going, I know it's right, I was going up to Mulholland Drive and I was, you know, just thinking about, you know, him eating his Frosty Flakes, and I had a show coming up.
Yes.
And I wanted some new material, and I wrote this poem. I got to the top of Mulholland, and I'm looking out over the lights of LA, and I just wrote, you want to know what I wrote? You want to hear it?
At least little, yes.
Last night I thought to myself, life sure is tough on the minimum wage. I looked at my girl in bed, reading her Hello magazine, and she looked uninterested. I was uninterested. Thought to myself, sure is funny. Man spends half his life dreaming about what he wants to be, and the other half why he never became it. And then I remember I slipped into a dream. I dreamt I fell through the hole of my Cheerios into a bowl of milk, but I sank, and it was awful. And then I remember I had another dream. I dreamt I fell into the bowl of milk, but I didn't sink. No, I landed on one of these Frosty Flakes. Well, first I was floating on the flake, and then I was surfing on the flake. I was the cool Frosty Flake surfer. That morning I crept out of bed, leaving her snoring. I went down the store and bought 5 boxes of these Frosty Flakes. I came home and I threw all the Cheerios in the trash. That morning I was crunching away over breakfast, and she looked up over the top of a cosmopolitan magazine at Mr. Minimum Wage. But I knew I was the cool Frosty Flake surfer, and there was not a thing she could do about it. Now, that was one of my favorite poems I ever wrote. That was short.
Yes.
And coming to think about that, as I was saying that, my favorite poem is the Guru #1 poem, actually.
And we come to it. We'll come to it a little bit later.
That was the one.
Belowsky, may I ask you, apart from Frosties, what makes you tick in life?
I mean, I just, I get off on like all pop culture and all the things that are around you. I embrace it. I can really embrace it. I just love walking down the street and going and getting a coffee and sitting in a coffee shop. I love people watching, and I love football. I like boxing. I write on both subjects. I've written a book on boxing. I've written a book, poems on football. But I just love people. I just love being around people. I don't like, I'm happy to be alone. As long as there's a good show on Netflix or something, I'll sit there and watch it. Don't need people around me.
And Foxtel.
We're
going to be on Foxtel.
I'm Foxtel. I've done some stuff on Foxtel with Anna Gare. Is it in Quick is in My Kitchen?
Yes, fantastic. I want to ask you, you lived so many places. You arrived in America with how much in your pocket?
I don't know, I must have told the guy at customs I had a couple of hundred, but I probably only had like 20, 30 pounds, English pounds in my pocket or something like that, yeah.
And what is the best place for you to live in the world?
For me personally, I think, if I had to pick one place, I'd have to say New York City, I'd have to say New York.
Yes, and you became, as you say, to take New York out of New York. You say it in your book. It's like taking fish out of the water. Yes.
There's a saying. I've heard this saying. There's a saying that, in Sinatra's song, New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. But I see it the other way around. There are people that can make it in New York, but you take them out of New York and they'll fail. There'll be a disaster anywhere else. New York lets them be what they want to be. You take a New Yorker out of New York and he's lost. He's like, get me back to New York. I can't operate outside of Manhattan, and I think that's, but I think New York, it's hard to leave New York. It's not, but the thing about New York, and that's funny because I was talking to my friend this morning who's a New Yorker, is anyone that stayed in New York more than 4 or 5 years, they really are now New Yorkers. They may not be native New Yorkers, but they're just about become New Yorkers. It's a city you take it with you.
Yes.
You take the hustle with you. You know how to hustle once you've lived in Manhattan.
So your creative life divided between New York and Los Angeles.
Yeah, it was totally. Yeah, it was. My life was New York, LA, and then I had a girlfriend in Minneapolis. So I'd stop off, in Minnesota. Karen. Yeah.
Okay, question. If you were to turn back the clock and think about your humble beginnings in America with your $30 in a pocket, what gave you the strength to move on and fight and make it? In a obviously short version for the viewers to encourage them to follow the dream. Did you follow a dream?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. I just think I made it up as I went along.
Yes.
I never dreamt of being this, that, or the other.
No.
I still don't really. I just follow my instinct.
Yes.
And being a successful poet or scriptwriter or playwright, and I'm not too sure that's where I'm at. I think that I do what I do. If it happens, it'll happen, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. If I'm writing a play, I'll write a play. If it happens, it happens. If I have an idea for a poem and I write it, I'll do it. But I don't set out in the morning to write a poem. I don't set out to write. If I decide to write, because it'll be through that inspiration.
So you basically, again, life without any rules, correct? Rules don't apply.
No rules.
No rules.
No rules.
Yeah? The rule is no rules.
No rules.
Belowsky, during your life in New York and Los Angeles, you met obviously many famous people. Can you tell me about can you tell our viewers about your encounter with Tom Jones?
Yeah.
Okay.
met Tom Jones at the casino at Bally's at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
I was I was looking after my friend's house in Hollywood, and she went away. It's a long story. You have to read it in the book. But I took the Porsche and drove it down to Vegas.
Yes.
And I got down to Vegas about 2 in the morning, and I parked outside Bally's, and I went to the bar and sat at the bar, and it was like about 2:30 in the morning or something. The place was pretty empty for Vegas, and Tom came out. He must have been checking his stage for the next night or whatever he was, and he walked up to me, and we sat at the bar, and we started talking about poetry, and he was into Dylan Thomas, and I became really kind of have built up a good little relationship with him, and I used to go to his office in after that, after we had, you know, we met and we got off, we hit it off, and you'll read about it in my book, Stay Greasy Baby, but I ended up going to Century City to his office quite a bit, and I got to know his son more than Tom in the end, Mark Woodward. Mark Woodward, who's his manager, Tom's manager.
And I read that Tom Jones suggested maybe you would write some lyrics, or he always looks for lyrics. What was your...
No, I said to him, you know, like, you know, he said, you think you could write me some, you know, songs? I said, I don't know, some poems will make really bad songs, and some songs would make really bad poems. You can write a poem that make a really bad song, and you have a great song that make a really bad poem. Does that make sense? So it's the other way around.
Yes, of course it does.
So you can write a spoken word bit, but it just really doesn't turn into a song. And then he could give you a song to do as a poem, and it's crap.
Yeah.
Like what's new, what, you know, like Delilah or what's new Pussycat or whatever. You know, it won't really translate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how was Tom? How was Tom Jones?
A terrific guy. Yeah, he was great. A real pleasure, you know, gentleman. I said to Tom in the book, I said, how come you're so nice to everybody? He goes, it's a lot easier to be nice, you know.
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
Someone approached him, and he's signing autographs. I said, oh, you got time? And that's right. I said, you got time for everyone.
Yes.
He goes, why not? He said, it's easy to have time for them not to.
Beautiful.
You know.
Belowsky, and another amazing story I read in your book, Bold and Beautiful, executive team, cast, and your performance. How did you meet the Bold and Beautiful ensemble, and you performed in front of them? I think it was in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about this experience. And I think you got paid a lot of money.
Yeah, I did good for that. Yeah, I just, I ran into the, I was dating a woman, I can't tell you at the moment.
It's always a woman.
Yeah, she was in soap operas, and then she led me to the Bell family. They owned Bold and the Beautiful and Days of Our Lives. They were the producers, and through one thing or another, they asked me to perform at this big get-together of all the, you know, the soap operas. All the stars and all the soap operas came together for a reunion. So there was people from past and present, you know, and I performed there to the whole lot of them. Yeah, I performed for them all, yeah.
Do you think life is for you, or altogether being in the right place in the right time?
Yeah, I think that's life really, isn't it? Or seeing a door and it opens, and you know, sometimes there's a door that's opened and you don't know to walk through it. You know, it's like open for you, and you don't notice it. So someone once told me that, somebody, you know, a door can open and you don't even know it's opened, and you don't want to walk through it. But it's there, it's open, go for it, you know. But I think that you just have to be ready for it. I think you have to be in the right place at the right time. I don't think it's always about talent, and I don't think it's always about luck. I think it's when, I'm not saying I'm talented or anything, but I think, or anybody, but I think when luck and talent comes together, that's all it's all about. You know, I think you've got to be in the right place at the right time.
Belowsky, do you regard your creativity as a blessing?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's a blessing. Yeah, sure.
Me too. What other blessed people, what other poets would inspire or do inspire you?
You want to know, I can really answer that one easily. I was inspired by the Beat Generation. Ginsberg, Kerouac, Ferlinghetti, all that San Francisco, New York scene from the 50s. And when I do poetry, there's a certain beat to the beats. The beat poets have a certain, it's not rhythm, it's not, people think poems rhyme, although a rhyming poem, it's not about rhyme, it's about meter, it's about beat. But I love the whole lifestyle of those guys back in the 50s, and Ginsberg and Ferlinghetti and Jack Kerouac, and I love the free spirits, and I think for me, if it wasn't for the beat generation, I don't think I would have got into spoken word.
Really?
Yeah, I really feel that, you know, in my book I talk about the beats a lot, and I think that was a journey that I followed, but maybe I followed it in the modern era. But if I was in the 50s, I think I would have been hanging out with that crew down in Greenwich Village, you know. And so definitely the beat generation.
You would fit in.
I think I would have fitted in, apart from the suit. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten the suit, I don't know.
Belowsky, what can we expect from Belowsky in the future?
I think TV, I'm working on the TV series right now. The book's being looked at in Los Angeles as a Netflix thing. A production company are getting onto that in America at the moment, having a look at that. Got a TV series over in Sydney that's being looked at. We're pitching. And I've got a play that I've just finished. I think I've spent a lot of time writing opposed to performing, but in 2019, I hope to do a lot more stand-up, believe it or not, comedy more than spoken word. And I have done quite a bit of stand-up comedy at the Comedy Store and stuff like that in LA, but I definitely feel that 2019 is going to be a year that I'm going to concentrate a lot on stand-up comedy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You are reading a poem, one of your poems, at the Men in Black Ball, which is in support of men's mental health and fight against suicide and prevention.
Yeah.
And the poem is called
Guru Number One.
What inspired you to read this poem at this event?
I think it's a very simple poem again. And yeah, I think it resonates with people. And everywhere you go in the news, everybody's looking for this guru. You know, this guru, and everybody's got all these contemporary gurus out there right now. So I think the poem suits the occasion, because it's a poem that doesn't matter who you are, what you are, you can do it. You know, and I think a bit like the Frosty Flake Surfer, really. You know, man spends half his life dreaming about what he wants to be, and then the other halfway never became it. And then you can slip into a dream, and you can dream something great. A Guru Number One is a similar kind of poem. It's longer, but it's I think it's very relevant. I just think it'll go down well there. Yeah, I think they'll enjoy it.
Because I think we discussed it, that we all have to find guru in life to find the light. Yes?
Yeah.
There's no one size fits all.
Yeah, that's true. What I find interesting is it's a Men in Black ball, right? And the cover of my book is black.
That's right.
So, yeah, right? So, you know, maybe...
Belowsky,
yeah.
if I gave you a magic wand, what would you wish for the world?
What would I wish for?
With your magic wand.
If I had a magic wand and I could wish for anything in the world, you know, if I could really,
yes,
if it's something like, you know, like if I could wish for anything in the world, because I don't believe in like all this peace. You know, there'll be world peace, or we'll solve all, we'll solve diseases or whatever, or you know, I don't think because if we get rid of one disease, another one comes. You know, we argue about what I would like to see, and it was, I think it's John Lennon who summed it up best. Is, you know, and I don't know if he said it in the song, but there's no borders. If I had a thing and I could wave a magic wand, the world will have no borders anymore, and you can go anywhere you want to go, and nobody owns you, and you can go across the seas. There's no passports, there's no border control. You just go where you want to go,
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'd like to be like Captain Jack Sparrow.
I love it. World without borders.
Yeah, world without borders.
Let's wish for it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here on the show. We're looking forward to more creative writing and poems. Belowsky, thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Great being here.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.